All right, this is our second example work through of a proof in 3.3. In this example, we're going to be working forwards through a proof. Now, before we start, our first three premises are these right here. So we have three premises in this proof. This is the proof in 3.3 that is the do-it-yourself proof. And then this is our conclusion. So our first premise right here is if A, then B. Our second premise is A or C and D. Our third premise is not B and not E. And then our conclusion is C. Now, remember, part of what we explained in the tutorial is that when you're trying to decide whether you want to work forward or backward through a proof, you need to look at your conclusion. And if your conclusion is an atomic sentence, more than likely, you're going to want to work forward through a proof. Now remember, working forwards is sort of like a guess and check mentality. What you're looking to do is really figure out what you can derive from the premises and then see what you can derive from those things you just derived. So it's sort of like you're guessing about what you need and just sort of as a puzzle, kind of navigating your way forward in terms of what you can get. And so since our conclusion here is atomic, it's merely the letter C. That's the reason we work forward through a proof. Okay, so now I'm going to start by listing my premises and then giving myself space to get to the conclusion. So the first premise, remember here, is A, if A, then B. That's the first premise. The second premise is A or C and D. I'm going to change that parenthetical. And then the third premise here is not B and not E. And then we're going to give ourselves a few dots and we're going to put our conclusion down here as C. And so now we have a line right here that designates that what's above the line is our premises. And then below our line is what we derive to get ourselves to C. So now I'm going to erase our dots for the sake of giving ourselves the space to actually do our derivations. But remember, the first strategy in working forward is to look and see if you have a conjunction and to reduce that conjunction down to its parts. Now, we reduce a conjunction down to its parts via conjunction elimination. We do, in fact, have a conjunction in these premises right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by reducing my conjunction down to each of its conjuncts. Its conjuncts here are not B and not E. And so I do that by a conjunction elimination. So my line 4 is going to be reducing down to not B, and that's by conjunction elimination. Remember, that gets represented as wedge E, and then the line that I've applied that rule to is 3, so that's what I'm going to put here. And then my fifth line is not E, and that's the same rule and the same line. Okay, so now I've done conjunction elimination. Now I take a look at each of my lines to see if I can apply 4 or 5 to one of my premises to derive something new. So now first and foremost, I'm going to look at line 5. I'm going to look at not E. And I'm going to say, do I see an E anywhere in the premises other than 3? Right? So do I see this atomic sentence in either of these premises, in premise 1 or 2? And the answer is no, not really. E is only in that third premise. And so E isn't really going to help us at the moment in terms of deriving stuff. I mean, it's just not useful because it only shows up once in our premises. Now, let's do the same thing, but let's take a look at 4. Let's take a look at B. And we can ask ourselves, does B show up anywhere in the premises other than premise 3? So does it show up in premise 1 or premise 2? And the answer is yes, we have a success, right? It shows up right here in premise 1, in if A, then B. And so now I want to ask myself that crucial question. I want to ask myself, is there a rule that applies to a conditional where the consequent is negated, right? So remember, what I have here is I have the premises if A, then B, and not B. And so I want to know, is there a rule that gives me something I can conclude from those two premises? And the answer is yes. Remember, we have a rule that says if the consequent of your conditional is negated, so if you know the consequent of your conditional is false, then you know the antecedent is false. Then you can conclude not A. So we have a rule that allows that says if the consequent of your conditional is false, then the antecedent is false. So remember, if we put this back in English, if we say something like, if it's raining, then the ground is wet. If we know the ground isn't wet, then we definitely know it hasn't rained, right? Because if it had rained, the ground necessarily would have been wet. So if the ground's not wet, it couldn't have rained. Now remember, that rule has a special name to it. And the special name to that rule, as you all have probably already leapt ahead of me and realized, is modus tollens. And so in proofs, we specify that, we shorten it to MT. Right, so modus tollens are MT. And so our sixth line is now really obvious to us. Our sixth line says that we can derive not A from modus tollens applied to line 4, because remember, that was this premise, that was the negation of the consequent, and line 1, right? So we put right here lines 1 and lines 4. Okay, so now we have not A, and I'm going to erase how we got there. So now we ask ourselves a separate question. We ask ourselves, what can we do with not A? And so again, we're applying the same sort of reasoning we did to not B and not E. We say, where does A show up that isn't the premise we just used? Now remember, we just used if A then B. And so we're asking, does that atomic sentence show up in either premise 2 or premise 3? The answer is it doesn't show up in premise 3, but it does show up in premise 2. So we ask ourselves the same question we did last time. Is there a rule from which you can conclude something if you have A as a disjunct in a disjunction and you have not A? So if you know that A is false and A is one of the disjuncts in a disjunction. So let's make this example less complicated, right? So right now our disjunction is very complicated. Our disjunction is either A or C and D. And C and D is very complex. So I'm just going to simplify C and D, and I'm just going to call it P, right? So I'm going to say you have A or P, and then we know that A is false. Now notice P, right, can sometimes be a propositional variable. So in a way, it stands for a complex sentence. So it can stand for a sentence like that, right? That's part of why I'm using P here. Okay, so we have A or P and not A. And the question is, can we conclude something from that? Is there a rule that allows us to conclude something from those two things? Now remember, what are we doing here? We're saying, well, you have a disjunction and you know the disjunction's true, right? Here's our disjunction. And then you know that one of the disjuncts is false. You know that A is false. So is there something we can conclude? And the answer is yes. We can conclude that P is true. And why? Well, because we know the disjunction is true. This disjunction right here has to be true. And in order for a disjunction to be true, one of the disjuncts has to be true, right? Either one, doesn't matter. Could be A, could be P, could be both. But crucially, we know that A is false, right? We know that A is not the thing making this disjunction true. And so if this disjunction is true, that means the other disjunct, P, has to be the thing making the disjunction true, right? It has to be. And so that's why we can conclude that P is true. That's why we can derive this conclusion. Now, again, you might have already jumped ahead of me, but what is the rule that gets us to the fact that P is true? That rule has the name disjunctive syllogism. That's what we call that rule. That's disjunctive syllogism. And again, we represent that with the letters DS, right? DS is disjunctive syllogism. Okay, so remember, P was a simplified sentence, right? We just gave this propositional variable that could stand for anything. When we apply this rule over to this complex disjunction right here, the thing that comes out as true is the whole of the second disjunct. And the whole second disjunct is C and D. So that's what we get as true from the rule of disjunctive syllogism. And remember, we've applied the rule of disjunctive syllogism to not A, right? So line 6 and the disjunction, line 2. So we're going to put lines 2 and line 6. So now I'm going to go ahead and erase our reasoning for how we got there. And we're going to do the same thing we did for the above lines that we derived. We're going to take a look at C and D right here. So we're just going to take a look at this line. And we're going to say, what can we derive from that, right? What can we get from C and D? And this is really simple. This is exactly what we started with. Remember, when we see a conjunction, the first thing we do with the conjunction is conjunction elimination. We derive the conjuncts, right? We derive the conjuncts. And so that's really simple. So there are two conjuncts here we can derive. We can derive D, right? And that's just conjunction elimination, line 7. And we can derive C. And that's also conjunction elimination, line 7. And look at that. Now we have actually arrived from conjunction elimination of line 7 to our conclusion, because our conclusion is this line. It's exactly what we needed, line 9, right? So we've arrived at our conclusion. We've succeeded at our proof. Now the last step we have to go through is we have to look at the proof and say, what lines do we derive that weren't useful? So what lines do we derive that weren't actually helpful, that didn't do anything for us? Now you might notice a couple. Take a look, for example, at line 5, right? Line 5 wasn't helpful. We derived not E, but it didn't do anything. It didn't factor into the remainder of our proof, right? We never used it to get anything below. So that means that we can eliminate line 5. We just get rid of it because we didn't actually need that derivation. Same thing goes, as you might have just noticed, for line 8. Deriving D didn't do anything for us. It didn't help, right? The only conjunction elimination we needed from line 7 was our conclusion, was C. So we can go ahead and get rid of line 8. And so when we get rid of that, we can now go ahead and renumber because our proof has gotten shorter. We have line 4, line 5, line 6, and line 7. So this is a 7-step proof. And now we can go ahead and put this in the Fitch system if we want to. So we can make this example much more formal, right? So we can put it in our formal system as opposed to our working proof. So remember the way that works. So that works by I put a line on the right-hand side and I put a line underneath where my premises are going to go. So the first premise, we label a 1 to the left, and the premise is if A, then B. And then we do a second line, A or C and D. That's our second premise. And then our third premise is not B and not E. All right, so those are our premises. So now I'm going to just number my derivations and arrive at my conclusion. So my next derivation is not B, and I know I arrived at that by conjunction elimination of 3. 5 is not A, and I know I arrived at that by modus tollens using lines 1 and 4. 6 is C and D, and I got there using disjunctive syllogism of lines 2, the disjunction, and 6, the negation of one of the disjuncts. And then my conclusion. And my conclusion was C, which is exactly what I needed, that I got from conjunction elimination of line, and check this out. Because we renumbered, we've got to change some of our numbering. You see that? So this should really be line 6. Notice that? It's conjunction elimination of line 6, this line right here. And then we have to do the same thing here. It's disjunction elimination, but our negated disjunct is no longer line 6, it's line 5. So we need to go ahead and change that. And if you're ahead of me, you might have noted that our modus tollens derivation is in fact correct, right? This remained line 4. That didn't change to our formal proof. So now that we have that formalized in the Fitch system, this is our final proof. All right.